with my year of movement, has seen a huge improvement in my glucose levels, and that has not only allowed me to feel healthy, but I can see it in the results, in the blood results that I get, and that's been another motivating factor to just keep me going, just to keep going. It's worth carrying on.
So today I'm talking with my friend Robin Mahadeo, and Robin is a keen runner. Today what we did was a 12-mile walk, and I have to say my legs are killing me. But I want to just center on kind of like your running. I would like to say running career, but I think it's much more than a career, because it's a lifestyle for you. And so Robin, just share with me something about how this running helps you in terms of mental or physical or relational well-being.
Yeah, I suppose running really took off a couple of years ago. Really, kind of in lockdown actually is when it really kind of took off in earnest. But previous to that, I've always had a desire to be a runner, and yeah, I know I've been doing it for a number of years. Since lockdown, I started running a bit more. I changed my attitude to running.
Yeah.
I looked at it as more of a kind of a mental release rather than a physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, going out for a long run for 2 hours, it was really about time for me on my own, and for me to digest and process in my mind what's going on, the thoughts of my day and problems that I'm facing.
And I know, because your career is within the city, is in the banking sector, and so there's a lot of pressure that's been going on.
Yeah.
So just give me a little bit more detail on what that means for you in terms of mental release, Robin.
So tired. Mental release. I suppose for me, it's just a form of mindfulness. Being in the moment. We talked about flow in our conversations today, in particular. We talked about flow and getting into that flow, and how I went for a run the other day, and it was hard. It was tough to begin with. The first hour was really tough. And why was it tough? Because my mind wasn't in the right place, and because my mind and my body is connected. If my mind's not in the right place, my body doesn't perform, and it took ages. But then, I wanted to give up. I really wanted to give up, and I just continued, and I persevered, and I said, no, you need to do this. You're training for an event. You need to do this run. So I just carried on, and I eventually got into a rhythm. I got into that flow. My mind relaxed, my body relaxed, and I just continued, and I carried on, and I carried on for however miles it was, and for however length of time it was.
So I guess in some ways that's kind of like a metaphor for life, because it's that I don't feel like doing it.
Don't feel like getting up in the morning, or I don't feel like doing this, but push yourself a little bit, and once you get over that kind of the difficult period, then you get into that kind of groove, you get into that mode of running again.
So do you think that helps you in your work?
Definitely, yeah, most definitely. I mean, there are moments where, and what I do is kind of pull lots of different things together from lots of different parts of the organisation, bringing it all together in one place, having to deal with lots of different types of stakeholders, and actually sometimes it's quite stressful. And the way that I work in a way that I'd like to have all the information in front of me, or at least 90% of the information in front of me, and then I can analyse it and reflect on it and come up with ideas around how to move it forward, or what structure I need to put in place. And the running allows me to have that mental release, that time for things to propagate, to think about, to kind of really kind of work out in my mind, and running is that release to do that, mechanism to do it.
And do you think at the end of that process of whatever period of time you're out for, you have more clarity of what you've been working on.
Yeah, most definitely. I generally have more ideas when I come back from a run, or I've sorted out a problem in my mind, and I've worked out where the issues are and how to tackle that problem. Whether it's dealing with a difficult stakeholder, or whether it's dealing with an actual specific problem or project, or how do I get over this hump, or how do I approach something that hasn't been done before. Here's a good example where I've been thrown in the deep end and said, can you sort out this problem, and we need a paper at the end, or we need a business case or a presentation at the end of it in a week's time or 2 weeks' time. And I end up doing all the work at the far end of it, that time period, because I've been processing and I've been thinking about it, and each time we kind of iterate your kind of journey all the way through, and in the end I come up with something that is great for the company.
So in terms of the process, are you saying that you would go out with these things that I need to sort this issue out while I'm running,
Yeah.
or does it just happen as you're going past the 20-mile mark?
I haven't quite hit the 20-mile mark that much. No, I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
it really is. You assimilate all this information, and then you purposefully go out for a run
yeah,
to sort it out in your head, and that's quite an interesting dynamic in that you're the act of going out. You're using that time to sort the problem out in your head, to work out the complexities of it, and working out how do I get this mess of information into a format or a story that I can translate to other people. And then there's the other extreme where you've been reading lots of stuff, and it could be over a period of time or a period of weeks that you're stuck on a particular problem. And I'll just go for a run as a general run anyway, and it will come to me as I'm coming along. It will suddenly click, and there's that old age adage of you have your great ideas when you're in the shower, and part of that is because you're in that autopilot mode. You're not thinking about the shower. You step in a shower and you go in and you have a routine.
Yeah.
And over the years, particularly over the last couple of years, I've used running to be that routine and that mechanism that is autopilot. So as well as it pushing me physically, it's allowing my body to then, my brain to go into kind of that autopilot mode, which allows creativity and thinking and free-form thinking and problem solving to really materialise in the brain while I'm running along, while I'm physically getting fit. But I do believe that there's a real linkage between being physically fit and mentally fit at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Now I understand that from in terms of neuroscience. Not that I'm a neuroscientist, but my reading around it is that every time your brain creates new synapses, it forms new connections. So if you have this idea or this problem and this bit, and you've got all this data and it's floating around, and it's doing this or it's joining this way, and it's finding new ways to join.
Yes.
And in that new ways, something evolves out of it.
Yeah, and I think there is definitely something with that, because, and I think there's a personality thing there as well. I mean, I'm a learning person. I want to learn. I want to explore. I'm definitely exploring all the time. Very curious about different things and different ways of working, and that is probably inherent in how I think and how I kind of create things. But there is something there about the physical aspect, the physiological changes that go on in your brain as you're running, which would be quite an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah.
A little bit more about, as you're running, those synapses that are firing, it's challenging you. I mean, I do all my running is on trails, it's off-road, it's going over obstacles, it's over different terrains, it's your feet's landing at different angles, you're having to juggle from one foot to another over different things, and just the physical act of that has got to be firing lots of different things in your brain. It's got to be waking stuff up. Whereas if you're running on a road, as for example, it's actually just a repetitive motion that's just going through, and that in itself has benefits because it's just that repeat. But I just think that having all the other environmental bits going on with trail running or in the woods or in a field or anything like that, through fields, and we went through some beautiful fields today.
Yeah.
You know, just going through all that fresh air and that colour, that is just adding into that kind of experience.
I think it's true. It's that richness of texture. It's the richness of brain input, and I think for all of us, your brains are designed for input.
Yes.
And so if we're looking and you're not even thinking how to step, you just have to step, otherwise you fall over.
Yes.
And I think that for me, when I do it, and I don't do it to the same degree as you, I can do half a mile before I think, I need to
That's
stop.
still
So
good.
I
That's
need
still
to be
good,
able to
Johnson.
push past that.
You've
But
got to start somewhere, right?
I still do my park runs. But the idea of this input that's coming from different directions allows your brain to make the connections that you're not forcing it to. And I think when you're so focused, and over the last 2 years, you're really focused on, I must achieve this, I must do this deadline, this thing needs to happen, so-and-so's waiting on me, all of these pressures that are on us to perform and to produce. When you're out in nature and you're doing the stuff that allows your brain to concentrate on the where you're walking, avoiding cow paths or whatever it is, then it releases the stress and the pressure for the other parts to start to move and to fall into place. And that to me, if people get hold of that, then it increases your productivity no end.
But it doesn't just have to be about running, though.
No.
Walking, just being physically moving, is probably the biggest thing around that. And I turned 50 last year. I said to myself, you can't just be sedentary. You've got to keep moving, and I try and do that every day. I try and move and do something every day that's physical. Whether it's a walk, whether it's a run, whether it's kind of like just, even if it's just going to the shops to pick up something, walk, just that little activity of doing things. Because especially in this working these days now, over the last 2 years with COVID and lockdown and hybrid working, I mean, there have been days where I have literally just sat at my desk, from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, 12 hours, and not moved at all.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No. And I know that from, I think we've evolved to, I talk to people about LSD and using LSD. And before anybody jumps down the throat, LSD stands for labour saving device.
Labour saving device, right? Okay.
And over the period of time that we've evolved on this planet, you see more and more LSDs. And so I said, well, once upon a time, my grandmother used to use a broom, and you know what it's like because you know Trinidad as well. You had this broom that was made out of coconut spines, and so you'd be sweeping away and you'd be doing that, and then all of a sudden somebody said, "Have you never tried a vacuum cleaner?" Oh yeah, much easier, and it saves your back and it saves all of that. And now we've gone from broom to vacuum cleaner to robot vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
And for every labour-saving device, you get more and more sedentary.
Yes, and that's a big problem. That's
Yeah.
a big problem, societal problem. I think you get more and more lazy. You're not physically going out there, and you get that less sense of reward as well.
Yeah.
Right? When you physically do something, you physically dig the garden, or you're weeding the garden, or you cut the grass, or You do all these things.
Is that what you ride on more?
Yeah, that's right. Well, you don't want to be pushing one. You don't want to be pushing one of those blades along, do you? It's far too much work.
Or you mean a manual?
A manual mower.
You wouldn't even find one nowadays.
That's true, actually. I don't think you can find one these days. But even just the act of mowing the lawn, that's physical activity.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Yes.
You don't have to pay for a gym membership for that.
Yes. This is the beauty of movement, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
And you also have a health issue with diabetes, and we've talked about that before. How have you found the movement or the running piece in terms of diabetes, and what's that relationship like for you over the years?
It's been quite revealing in that. So I talked about, last year when I turned 50, I wanted to move more. It's interesting enough that and I was running before that, but wasn't as regular as I wanted to. And when I turned 50, I'd actually done my back in, right? Funny enough. So I had a problem with one of my discs, and it caused sciatica, all sorts of different things. And so I said to myself, I want to move more. And when I finally got through that acute problem with the back, and I started to run more and things, I found that my diabetes control got so much more under control. I felt so much better. I lost a bit of weight. I felt physically better. I could move around a lot easier. And that in itself meant that my diabetes control started to improve no end. And I went from the last year, with my year of movement, has seen a huge improvement in my glucose levels, and that has not only allowed me to feel healthy, but I can see it in the results, in the blood results that I get. And that's been another motivating factor to just keep me going, just keep going. It's worth carrying on. And I'm not saying that I'm never gonna. This is a condition that's for life, right? And this is a condition that I will always have, and I always have to take tablets, and I always have to have injections, and all those sorts of things.
Possibly.
Well, possibly.
Yeah,
possibly.
Let's. There's always hope for more.
There is always hope for more. But a classic is that I've reduced the amount of insulin that I take now, right?
Yeah.
And I have to because it was too much before, and now if I continue with this and I continue to lose a bit more weight, I'll probably reduce that even further. So rather than give up, I'm trying to get my body to kind of use itself naturally and use the organs naturally, rather than just pop a pill and then it's all sorted.
That's really interesting, because for anybody who's listening and think, well, there is hope. There's somehow or the other you grab hold of this thing and you're doing it, and you don't often always feel like, because you're overcoming something of the inertia of, and you can see a benefit. And you can feel a benefit.
I can feel a benefit. I'm seeing the benefit in my results, and for diabetics, it's very hard to get those kind of structural things like life insurance and things like that. Those things are difficult. If you're not controlling your condition and you're not on top of it. We've talked about this before.
Does that mean that if your diabetes is out of control, you can't get life insurance, or does it cost more?
It costs more. There is always a premium.
Okay.
Because you've got an underlying medical condition, and the percentage of that premium will be dependent on your level of control. Because they would always write to your consultant or your doctor and get that, and you'd always have to submit details of your blood conditions and things. But if you can see a downward trend to see that there's real control happening, you've put interventions in yourself you haven't relied on medication. You've basically gone out and changed your lifestyle, and it is
Yeah.
a lifestyle
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was first diagnosed, it was all about lifestyle change. Exercise or running or movement, just call
Yeah.
it movement.
Yeah.
That is now part of the lifestyle that I am. I walk up the stairs, or I walk up the escalator, or instead of taking the lift, use the stairs. These little things is just instilling more and more movement,
Yeah.
and those little things add up over time.
I've got a funny one with that movement piece, because when last we went to London Bridge Station, Marie, my wife, and myself,
Yeah.
and I said, "You take the escalator, and I'll run up the stairs." And I thought, "Yeah, I'll run up the stairs, and I'll be there miles before her." Got to the top, and there she's standing with, because she cheated. She actually walked up the escalator. But I think that's it. It does take something to say to yourself, "I'm going to take the stairs, not the escalator."
It does. But it's little things like that
Yeah.
that add up. And don't get me wrong. It takes time to build up the strength and the kind of the fitness level, and to really kind of not find it a problem to walk up those stairs, because it takes a while.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about your own personal resilience and your own perseverance, about getting through that and saying to yourself, well, I'm going to give myself 6 months of this movement activity and see where I'm at, and reassess in 3 months where I'm at. And in some respects, that's what I did when I turned 50. I said, give myself 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
see how I get on. And within a few months, I was kind of, I've been kind of moving. I've been running for, quite long distances now.
Yeah.
And I don't run fast. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a racer. I'm not a fast person. I just plod along. I just enjoy the scenery. It's not there to win a race or win a competition. It's just there to enjoy.
I bet I can plod slower than you do.
Yeah, I think you probably could, actually. I think you probably could.
In fact, I can. But this is the whole point of it. That the point of it is not to compete against the clock. It's not to compete against anybody else, but is to live a better you.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And you feel better.
Yeah.
You feel motivated. You feel awake. You sleep so much better. You have no idea. I've sleep so soundly now, and you wake up more energized. And when you get through that kind of 3-month view, and then you move into the last kind of 3 months of that 6-month journey, you'll see a natural change to want to do things, rather than seeing it as a chore.
Yeah.
And then that hill that you used to walk up and used to have to stop, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you can walk up that hill with no problems at all. And
Marie-
you've never been able to.
Marie says that to me. Ever since you started to plod a little faster, now when I walk with you, I notice the difference in the speed at which you walk at,
Yeah.
because I naturally walk very slow.
Yes,
But she says, I can tell the difference.
yes, yes.
And it's not like it's a huge difference,
No.
but it is a difference.
No, and you wouldn't really notice it, because it's just you just do it and you just do it and you just do it and you just think, oh yeah, that's great. I can do that now. Can I go a little bit further, and can I go a little bit further? So you keep pushing yourself a little bit more. But that wouldn't come if you just kept a negative mindset and you just,
Yeah.
oh god, this is
Yeah.
too much. I can't do it. You just got to say to yourself, right, okay, I've had a bad day today. Get up tomorrow. We'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah. So, I know what you're like in terms of your planning. You want to very, very structured, and so if somebody is saying, well, how do I start this? You're saying a 6-month review and 3-month plan and all that sort of stuff. How do I start that?
That's good. It's good. A good question. I mean, I think you just need to start small.
Yeah.
Just start with simple things. Let's just go for a half-hour walk
Yeah,
every day.
yeah,
Just leave it at that. Don't worry about anything else. Just say, and the way you can do it is to, if you get up at a certain time every day and you go to bed at a certain time every day, you can actually kind of map that out a little bit and say, right, I am awake for 10 hours of the day, okay? And all right, it takes me a little while to go and have a shower and this and that and have breakfast and I've got lunch and I've got work and I've got this and I've got that. But out of those 10 hours that you are awake, surely you can dedicate or put aside 30 minutes that is just focused on going for a walk.
Yeah.
It's only 30 minutes out of 10 hours of waking time. And use that and just stick to it. And the best way to do it is to have it as part of your routine. So have it as a lunchtime walk. Right? You have lunch between 12 and 1, so you make sure between that hour there's a half-hour walk, and you can walk and eat, or you can walk and phone a friend, or you can walk and listen to a podcast. You know, listen to some music, but just use that time, that little half an hour every day, and just keep going out. And what I found is, and I say this to all friends that are runners and people who are struggling and things, where you see the most improvement is the consistency of doing it on a regular basis. So as I said, I'm not a fast runner at all. Right? It takes me hours to get through some of the races that I do, but I don't do it for the time. I do it for the enjoyment. And that kind of consistency of actually just going out, you will see it will pay dividends. Within a few weeks it will pay dividends, and then it will get to a point where you will miss not going out for a day, and you want that on a day, and that's the tipping point. That's when you start turning the corner a little bit in terms of motivation. But you will see the benefits of that. It's a consistency is definitely the key to
I like that. I like the idea of saying, well, okay, go for a walk and listen to a podcast, or go to walk and phone a friend. So it's almost like I'm not even noticing I'm going for a walk. I'm doing all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And this movement is happening by the way.
Yes, by the way.
By the way, oh, look where I am now.
Exactly.
Something's happening, and the benefits are there.
Yeah. I
without having to stress over it.
Exactly, and it's been fundamental especially when you think about lockdown. I noticed it quite a lot when we first went into lockdown, because where I live is about a mile walk uphill to the station, and then you get on this train, and then it's about a mile from the station at the other end to the office.
Yeah.
So I've already clocked up 4 miles, right? In the day, yeah. Just on a regular basis, every single day I was doing that, 4 miles, right? And then there's the time of walking around the office, walking out for lunch, you know, maybe add another couple of miles on that.
Yeah.
So that's 6 miles a day of walking, without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden, you've been doing that, and then you're doing nothing but sitting at a desk from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. And that is a big shock to the body. So it's no wonder that a lot of people are struggling at the moment, or struggling to get back into that routine. And as I said, you've got to take it down to bite-sized chunks and say, let's take half an hour. Just dedicate half an hour at lunchtime, or at the end of the day is another perfect opportunity. Yeah. Finish at 5 o'clock. Again, the lockdown and the working from home, you blur working life and home life, and you don't have that break in between. The commute home would be your break in normal working circumstances. So use that half hour, put it at the end of the day at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whenever it is that you finish, and just have that half hour, get out of the house, fresh air, go for a little walk, and then come back, and just make sure you do that. Consistency is the key.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other things we were talking about is the benefit in terms of relationships. Either running, walking, any sort of movement outside. I've seen, relationships get better, because my wife says, every time you go out and come back, I feel better, because smiling a bit more, or
Mm.
and my smiling a bit more might be 2 seconds more, by the way. But hey, you know, it's 2 seconds more than I did before,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever it is, because it might be a solve a problem in my head, or move something forward. And so as the load mentally releases, the load physically releases, and it's connected,
Yeah.
and then the relationships get better,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm not taking something from here and bring it back in the house.
I mean, we talked about this today. Is that Saturday was a fantastic day. I went out for a long run.
Mm.
I was out for about 3 hours. Much longer than I anticipated, and it was a difficult run. I started bad, and it took a while to get into the flow and everything. While I was doing that, my wife was at home and she was baking cakes and
Yeah.
baking other bits and pieces, savoury bits
I
and
know
pieces.
where
and
I would have preferred to
And-
be.
But I came back in the
Yeah,
door,
yeah.
and my wife was in a really happy place because
Yeah.
she was doing the things that she
Yeah.
really liked.
Yeah.
I was in a really happy place because I'd just come back from a run, and
Yeah.
I'd conquered and I got through
Yeah.
a difficult run and managed to get through it and got through it at the end. So we were both really happy.
Yeah.
And what more is there in life when you come back, you do your own little pieces and bits and pieces and whatever it is that makes you happy, and carry on.
Yeah.
And your relationship gets stronger.
Yeah. Robin, it's been fantastic today walking around with you. And for anybody who's listening, if this touches a nerve, this excites you, there's some interest or value to this, do drop us a like, a comment. We at Momentum always respond to any comments made to us. And it's been great.
Great, Johnson. Thanks very much.
Thank you.